Every year we come to the same moment in the Haggadah. We eat the matzah, we have drunk the wine, we tell the story, and we read these words. Bechol dor vador omdim alenu lechalotenu. In every generation, they rise up to destroy us. In every generation, we say it, we move on, we pour Elijah's cup, but this year I want to pause and sit with those words. In every generation, they rise up to destroy us. Is it paranoia? Trauma encoded in ritual? Or is it something else entirely? What if it is the single most important thing that we can teach our kids right now? Something is happening in our community that we need to name. Our children are on the front lines of something we did not prepare them for through their phones, on campuses, in classrooms. They are encountering accusations that feel new, but in fact are very old. Zionism is racism. Israel is apartheid. Jews are committing genocide. Let me be very clear. Criticizing Israel's government is not anti-Semitic. It is Israel's national sport. It is part of loving Israel and being a good Jew and being a good Zionist. But the phrases I read to you are not meant to provoke moral reflection. They are meant to instill shame, to confuse, to instill doubt. And for many of our children and many of us, it's working. We respond with security guards, updated definitions of anti-Semitism, panels, and programs. These measures matter, but they are not enough. We have to give our children, we have not given our children a framework, a way to understand what they are experiencing. And the Haggadah has been trying to give us that framework for 2,000 years. The Torah shows us how lies take root. In the beginning of the book of Exodus, we see that a lie always begins with a kernel of truth. The Torah tells us itself, Uvinei Yisrael paru v'yishratzu v'yibra'u v'yatzmu b'ma'od ma'od. The children of Israel were fruitful and multiplied, swarming across the land, growing strong, exceedingly strong. The land was full of them. That is true. And then Pharaoh takes that kernel of truth and twists it into a threat. He says, look at these people. They are more numerous than us. They're mightier than we are. If we do nothing, they may rise against us, join our enemies, or leave the land. We must act against them. The lie begins with truth, but the heart of oppression is fear. And the story that it tells about us is not our story. It is a lie. Dr. Dara Horn calls this the big lie of anti-Semitism. She asks a question that we rarely ask. Why did monotheism matter? It wasn't just a spiritual claim. To say God is one is not a mathematical proposition. It was a political act. In every ancient empire, the ruler and God were one, the same thing. And to challenge the king was to challenge God. And when the Israelites said, there is one God, and you are not him, they were making a radical claim. Your power, O Pharaoh, is not ultimate. You can't own a human being. You cannot own us. The Exodus was not just a liberation from slavery. It was the founding of an anti-tyrannical movement. And the Haggadah teaches us three important truths. One God above all rulers, especially above human despots. Number two, societies can change. Pharaohs can fall. Slaves can be free. And number three, we are obligated, and that questioning is a good thing. Dissent is part of who we are. And these ideas have shaped civilization and the world, and in every era, they have made us a perceived threat to those who demand conformity. So let us return to the Haggadah. In every generation, they rise up to destroy us. The accusation changes, but the pattern does not. Someone in power feels threatened, so they take a truth and twist it into a lie and say, the Jews are destroying what we treasure most. In medieval Europe, the Jews were destroying Christianity. In Nazi Germany, the Jews were destroying the purity of the race. In the Soviet Union, the Jews were the capitalists. In capitalist societies, we are the communists and socialists. And today, Zionism is racism and Israel is apartheid. And the phrases are not new. They are the same lie, and they live in our children's pockets, algorithmically curated and endlessly repeated, not to prove, not to provoke reflection and thought, but to be believed through repetition. And when these accusations arise, what do we feel? Shame, confusion, and doubt. And when our children have those feelings, what do we have for them? Do we have a framework, a story? This is what the Seder is for. I want to name Jewish life after Gaza is an extraordinary, complicated moment in Jewish history. Tal Becker said, in the era of the blood libel, we were powerless, and obviously we were innocent of those ridiculous charges. Today, the accusations remain outrageous, but we are not entirely innocent. Judaism and Zionism call us inward to moral scrutiny, but they also call us outward to resist lies that are foisted upon us about ourselves. There was a teacher teaching 7th grade and put a bunch of case studies from 3,000 years in front of them, showed them the story of Egypt from medieval Europe, Henry Ford's America, Soviet Russia, and today. And one student looked at all of these cases and just said, yeah, I see it. Someone with power identifies what their society values most and then says, Jews are destroying it. Pattern recognition. That is what our tradition has been teaching. The Seder is the oldest classroom in human history. For millennia, we have sat down and gathered to stop and retell and ask, what does this story mean for us? And we do this not because we're paranoid, and also not because we're perfect, but because we are the people who said 3,000 years ago, no human being is God. And tyrants have never forgiven us for it. This week, we will celebrate the idea that freed us, the idea that topples tyrants. That idea is that every human being, including Palestinians, including ourselves, are made in the image of God and cannot be owned. We celebrate the idea that dissent is holy, and that idea survived Pharaoh, it survived Rome, it survived the Inquisition and the Nazis, and it will survive this moment too. Learning to see a lie for what it is doesn't free us from moral reckoning. Don't use this as an excuse to not look inward. But it helps us to distinguish truth that calls us to grow from lies that would steal our story from us and our children. We should give our children and each other this idea. We should sit at the table and say, this is who we are. And this is why they come for us. And this is why we are still here. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.